Paladin. Ruckus is shit at the start, though.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paladins Patch Notes.
Is Hindu Man doing this?
Dry Bear is joining
What the
alongside me.
fuck?
How
Hi.
are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm great. I've got one question.
Wow.
What's that?
I love
Big issue.
Hindu. Why is your cock on
Really
my desk?
huge issue. Perfect.
I don't think it's that huge. Why is your cock on my desk?
I didn't know where else to put it.
Does it normally go there?
I mean, sometimes. Yeah,
That's all there is to say, really.
that's all there is to say.
We're here with Paladins Patch Notes anyway to bring them live to you. And Dry Bear's going to talk us through exactly what we're going to be seeing in game and why we're making those changes.
So we're hopping into closed beta 14. This is going to be something that we're working at this week, so it'll be released this week. The first question I'm sure a lot of you are asking is whether or not it will contain Grover. It will, so we'll be releasing Grover with CB14. And this also will come with a couple restructuring to the card system and also how you pick cards and how the cards interact with the game. Obviously, a lot of that needs some explanation, so we'll go over a lot of that today.
Okay. First of all, then, Grover. First of all, why has he got an axe?
You know,
A tree with an axe.
That's right. So a wild lumberjack came by in the middle of the forest and found him and tried to chop him down. And he was really pissed about it. And so he grabbed the axe from the lumberjack and did some very gruesome things that we're not going to talk about.
Okay.
And now kept the axe. He thought it was a lot of fun to swing it. And so he's just having fun being Spider Tree.
So, now that he's a Spider Tree, he's going to be in the game. What does he exactly do? What's his role?
His role is kind of like a bruiser tank role,
Okay.
so kind of like Fernando, a little bit close, but a little more mobile. And so, whereas Fernando is on the tank side more of the damage absorption, Grover is going to be more on the kind of damage dealing bruiser side of the tank. So he's still a tank, and he will have the kind of utility with him. You'll see him up on screen here. So his primary weapon is the axe. So he has a melee weapon. He'll swing in melee range and deal damage. It's significant damage, but you know, if you get away from him, you can definitely avoid all of it.
But it's kind of difficult to get away from him, according to this kit.
That's right. So he has mobility as one of his kind of main things. And so his movement ability will allow him to hook himself to, it's a grappling hook.
Oh, it's a
So he can hook to
grappling hook?
walls, he can hook to people, he can hook to siege engines, he can hook to gates.
So he doesn't pull them to him, he goes to them.
He goes to them.
That's even better. So
Right.
especially as a melee character.
That's why he's
or
Spider
melee,
Tree.
He can get in range.
That's right. The alt fire is an axe throw, so he takes his axe and he just chucks it at someone.
Okay.
Does a really big burst damage. It also cripples them, so that way he can kind of keep them from running away. The cripple will prevent anyone from using their movement ability for a short time.
Okay.
Then his basic ability is going to be Briars and Blossom. So this is more of an aura swapper, kind of like a stance swap.
Okay.
One side it's an aura-based heal for him and everyone around him, and then the other side is an aura-based damage for any enemies that are nearby. And then some cards will interact with that.
So during combat, he'll be looking for the damage, but then as soon as he gets out of combat, regen,
That's
hit
right.
that aura, and get his teammates ready
Get
for
his
the next
team members
engagement.
back up. That's right.
Perfect. Makes a lot
And
of
then
sense.
the ultimate is the whirlwind, and so what you'd expect for someone who is a axe murderer is to kind of pick that up and spin in circles. That's exactly what he does. So he kind of just grabs that axe and spins in circles. He is CC immune while he's doing it,
Okay.
and deals consistent damage in a circle. So when he gets close enough to someone, he'll be able to kind of burst him down or get a big group of people and scatter them out.
So from just a base level of I can see is that I want to pull myself into a target if they're on their own, hit them with the axe to stop them from getting away from
That's
me,
right.
and chop them down.
That's right.
However, if there's a big group of people, I want
That's
to
right.
pull myself in and whirlwind.
And whirlwind all over and take them all down.
And then whoever's trying to get away from an axe in the back of the head.
That's right. Just axe him in the back.
Makes pretty simple sense.
Yeah, he's definitely a different take on some of the characters we have in Paladins now. We have a lot of ranged characters, and we really wanted to kind of introduce a new style with Grover and also kind of bring in some fun elements there. So obviously he's highly mobile. He'll be able to grapple to high walls. One of the cool things as well is that when he hits a wall, he actually will carry his momentum. So if you hit like a ledge underneath it, you'll hit it and then carry your momentum up onto the ledge and land on
Oh,
it.
that's
So you
good.
actually
So
kind of
just
stay on
bring you
top
up.
of things.
That's a good idea to make sure he brings you up on top of that as well, because otherwise you'll hit the ledge and then fall down below, and it's
That's
not
right.
really what you're after doing.
Yeah, so you're going to hit the wall and bounce off and go up into the air. You can also grab onto people. You can grab onto siege engines. You can't grab onto teammates, but you can grab onto turrets and stuff like that. So basically almost anything is targetable for him. He can just throw it at his vine, grab it, and pull himself to it.
Oh, to turrets as well? Awesome. So you can just chop down those turrets.
That's right.
Paul Barrick.
He can go almost anywhere.
Barrick's not going to be happy about that.
He might not be.
Can he go for the shields?
It doesn't hit shields,
Oh,
but it
so
does go through
does
them.
the shield block it?
It goes through it.
It goes actually through
That's
the
right.
shield. Even better. Even better. Gets you behind the shield.
does get you behind it. And actually, a lot of it, the melee is kind of getting through shield, getting behind people, kind of chopping
Okay.
those down. So that's kind of his main role, is really just disrupting fights, getting on the back line, being able to chop people down, but also staying mobile around the fights. A lot of times, people will look for Grover to flank behind them or look for Grover to kind of appear out of nowhere. And once you have that, then you'll see kind of what he brings to the fight.
Now with his cards, what we're going to be seeing of that is going to be more offensive cards, or would you want a utility sort of build with him? You want to go basic offense and defense, or would you rather see full defense, try and survive and just be in someone's face all the time? Or would you rather see them be full on aggression? I mean, what's the options? Is it all three options?
There's more of the first two, and so his kind of preferences there are really more around utility and mobility, but also some healing there. So you'll see he'll be able to bolster up his Blossoms, the side of Briars and Blossoms, to heal his teammates or heal himself. Also, there's a couple cards where when you swap from Briars to Blossoms back and forth, certain things happen, like slowing enemies or getting a burst of healing, or kind of applying things to people around you based on what side you're swapping to. That really allows him to kind of be more utilitarian. And then a lot of the rest of it is kind of doing moderate damage. He has some burst there, but not a lot of his cards deal damage.
I understand. So he's more of a controlling god more than anything else, and then resustain afterwards. That makes sense. So he should fit in quite nicely into a lot of compositions. What do you reckon will work well with him?
Really anyone who needs someone on the front line. So whereas you look for Fernando, someone to hold down a control point, someone to stand on the point and really hold the front line, Grover can't do that as well as Fernando, but he does have a good tanking habit. So what he really does is allow you to offensively push the line. And so him staying on the front and kind of chopping people down, getting people to scatter, or kind of vinding to the back and pushing someone, he's really very just disruptive, kind of like a bruiser style. And so that way allows you, if there's a Cassie sitting in the back or an Eevee flanking, Grover can just jump on him and get him out of the fight.
Makes perfect sense. Get him out of position, force him away so you can actually take the points or continue doing what you're doing.
That's right.
So that is Grover, and we might be able to get a little look in game at him shortly as well, which would be nice to actually see his abilities in action.
Sure.
What other things are we going to be talking about today? You said mentioned a few, like card specialization.
That's right. So you saw on that screen previously on the profile screen, there's a couple things listed on the character. We have gone through and given each champion 2 specializations, which really kind of specify what they do and what they're good at.
Okay.
And also provided a primary damage method. And so there's 3 different kinds. There's damage over time, there's burst damage, and then there's kind of like rapid hits or kind of fast attack speed or high amount of hits per second. That's something like a Grok or like a Ruckus or Fernando. Burst damage, something like Cassie or like a, like a Buck, and get like that big hit. And Grover as well with a one big swing.
Yeah, one big swings.
And then damage over time would be anyone who has dots. And we've really specified these champions so that when you look at a character, you'll be able to see it. So you see on Fernando's profile screen here, he specializes in high health and shields, which really represents him well, right? He has a shield, he's very tanky, all of his cards are very high health, and his primary damage type is fast hits or rapid attacks. And that way, he hits a lot of times for minimal amounts of damage, but they add up over time, right? This will really feed into our card system rework, which we'll talk a little bit in a minute here. And that really allows you to kind of identify what each character does well, and it's a little bit clearer that way.
Okay, so you're going to be able to know when you go in as this champion exactly what their sort of role is going to be for the game. So you can see the other champions' roles and be like, okay, we've got some of fast attacks, but we need some burst damage to really, neutralize these healers.
You really want to make sure, and it's all about team comp building. That way you don't have too much of one thing. Like you mentioned, if all of your characters did fast attacks, the enemy team would just get a bunch of cards that counter that, and it wouldn't be too good for you for team comp overall. And you want, some dot damage, some high attack speed, some burst damage. Yeah, that's right.
And how do you counter
that? So we're, part of the card rework is going to be introducing counter cards. That was beautiful. That was great. So the counter cards, basically, we've given counter cards to every character in the game in order to counter these specializations. For example, we have cards that reduce the duration of dots that get applied to you. We have cards that will, make so you can't be hit for a certain maximum HP percentage, so you can't be bursted very quickly. Then we have cards that reduce each hit you get taken by a flat amount, very small flat amount, like 10 to 25. But for someone like Grog that's hitting 10 times a second, that'd be like 250 damage. Versus Grover, he hits once. 20 damage is nothing to him. So it's more of just a counter to that kind of damage method.
So the counter cards are going to be able to be picked beforehand and you'll be like, okay, I know what I'm going to be against in competitive play, so I can look at trying to deal with, they've got lots of heavy dots. Well, let's try and reduce that dot damage down a little bit so I survive longer.
That's right. And one of the things that we saw with the current card system was that it was very difficult to kind of counter things in mid-match, mainly because, certain things would appear later in the match, or the card you wanted appeared early in your rarity, and you couldn't pick that up before you saw what you were countering. And so along with this system that are really kind of allowing more dynamic strategy between teams and allowing team comps to be built, we've also changed the way you earn cards. So the big piece is going to be, we have removed deck building from Paladins. So there will be no more deck building in Paladins. You can't create a deck or use a deck.
So how do you get your cards? How do your cards come into effect then?
Right. So what we're going to do now is when you go into the lobby and you pick your character, right after that you'll have a card selection phase. So you actually be selecting all 5 of your cards, your entire hand, during the match lobby, and loading to the match with all 5 already. So what you'll do,
active?
they'll all be active right off the bat. And so you basically pick your whole card layout for the match. And what will happen is you'll pick your champions, and then when you go to the second phase of the card selection, the enemy team will be revealed to you.
I was going to ask,
and you'll see, right?
Yeah.
You know, if they have like Fernando and Ruckus and Barrick, then you'll pick an anti-shield card because you know they have a lot of shields. And you'll be allowed to work with your team. You'll have some time to do that in the match lobby to select your hand and pick those counter cards and really see it. So you'll see it here. The first phase. There's no enemy team members here on this particular dev match, but you'll see you'll be able to pick your character, and we've also reworked the lobby if you guys noticed right away.
That's Grover.
Yep, that's Grover. And then
Grover.
you'll lock in your champion, and the next phase after that will be selecting your 5 cards for the hand. So there's no RNG, there's no random aspects. You know exactly what's happening going in. So at the very beginning of the match, everyone is kind of set.
And using that lobby as well, I mean, you can sit in the lobby chat and be like, guys, they've got a lot of dots. Make sure you reduce the damage they can do on dot damage.
That's right.
Overall. Or they've got a lot of sustain. We need a way to get through that. We've got to burst them down quicker.
Or you get anti-healing cards, anti-shield cards. So there's a lot of specializations in the game now, and there's a counter for every single one of them. There's the 3 damage styles as well, and there's a counter for every single one of them. And so as you're building a team comp for your team and also looking at the enemy team comp, you can craft a hand and work well with your teammates to kind of build a system where you can work well against the enemy team.
That makes sense. I like the idea of the cards in lobby as well. That's going to help out. We do have rankings of cards now as well.
We do, yes.
So as you're in game, what's exactly going to happen to these cards? Because obviously you come in, you're going to get all these powerful cards straight away. Is that going to be the case, or?
No. So obviously before we had a system where you were leveling up in match, you're getting experience. That's still going to be the case. So there still will be in match progression, kind of the same old style. But the difference here is that we wanted to have a different implementation for that. So we took away earning cards one by one during the match because it was quite frustrating to counter enemy players and really get the cards you want in the right order and really know what you wanted to pick. And so with everyone kind of picking cards at once, you know where everyone's on the same playing field. So we've reworked the in-match progression to work like this. Every card will now have 4 ranks associated with it. And so when you load in the match, you actually wrote in with rank 1 of every single one of those cards. And every time you level up, you'll get a point. And so you'll be able to apply that point to one of your cards, and it makes that card stronger.
So if you lower cooldown, more damage, more healing, more defense.
It just affects the actual active. So the flat stats that are on it won't be affected at all. But the actual active. So for example, if you want to move faster, you have a card that makes you run faster. That specifically will get better. So it'll be 20%, 30%, 40%. And so as you start putting points to these cards, you really can specify even more what you're being, what you're crafting your style towards in the match. So say you pick an anti-shield card, but the enemy team isn't really specializing in shields halfway through the match. You stop putting points into it, you put some points into your damage card, you put some points into your anti-healing card or movement card or whatever it is.
Crowd control reduction as well. Like you can put 1 point in crowd control reduction, think that's enough for now. I'm not struggling here, but I need more defense, like just to be able to survive a little bit more. So
you're kind of dynamically adjusting your build as you go.
That makes sense, but you still choose the build before you get in game as well.
That's
so you know where you can put your points into as you do level up as well.
That's right.
So it's going to be quite impactful there as well. So we're going to see the counter cards, cards in lobby, and rankings. Then there's Grover on top of that.
Right.
And here's the cards in lobby right now. You can see that you're going to be able to select them here. You've got your time to select, talk to your teammates, pick which ones you want to take into the game here. And as you said, once you get in game, you're going to level up.
That's right. So you see how she's kind of selecting her cards here. So she's a Grok in the enemy team. She'll be able to pick up a card that allows her to counter high attack speed damage dealt. Now, one thing that should mention, none of these cards are hard counters, right? So it's not going to be, if you don't pick this card, you won't be able to do well. These cards are really designed to be, you get a slight advantage, right? That's right. So 1 versus 1, Grok versus Sky, if she has anti-Grok cards, it's not going to mean that Grok can't kill her. I mean, very much it will be a relatively even fight. She'll have a slight advantage on him. The design here really is that when you have a team that has multiples of that, so let's say you have Fernando, Ruckus, and Grok, which all attack very quickly, then if you pick that card, overall it'll start to be very effective, right? So it's more just about soft counters and really slight advantages being added up over time. And as you put points into them, they'll get stronger and stronger, so you may commit to having all 4 ranks into your anti-high attack speed card, which allow you means that Grok won't be as effective against you.
And because you're doing that as well, you can actually look at going for, like, for example, Sky would be very good against Pip.
Right.
In terms of, like, if he goes for dealing less damage against her in terms of burst. However, against Grok, she'll struggle because she's got now dot damage reduction.
And then as we add more champions to the game and get more availability for team comps, it'll become wider. It'll mean more towards making sure you have a balanced team comp that doesn't have too much of one thing, and also crafting your hands in a way that really plays it, right? And we actually reworked the way the rarities are set up for the cards as well. And so
okay.
now each rarity has a specific purpose. And so all defensive cards will go in common, all movement and healing cards all in uncommon.
That makes so much more
all
sense.
counter cards are in rare. And so we did that way just so when you look at someone's hand, you know exactly what they could have picked and what they did pick, and it's very clear to you. And also it means that people can't get multiple
You
counters,
could just
right?
stack defense or stack full
That's
damage.
right.
You have to
pick
take
one.
some of
And that really specifies, especially based on your playstyle. Let's say you're playing Sky and you're an assassin.
Okay.
You may be looking just to pick off someone like Pip, right? Who does burst damage. And so you get anti-burst damage, and so you're focusing on him, which means
and in
when you
team
go
fights, you're going to have different people on different roles. So my
That's right.
job is to kill Sky. His job is to kill Barrick.
That's right.
His job is
You're
to
specializing.
tank Grok, you know, that's
and so, you know, if you run into Pip and you're focused on killing him, you're anti-burst, and then Grok comes by, Grok's going to shred you pretty well because you have no defenses against him. And again, they're not hard counters, but you'll be a little bit better against Pip than you will against Grok because you're specifically targeting him.
And it makes you feel better in the game too, because you died and you're like, oh man, I died. Oh, but I'm not really, you know, attuned to dealing with that guy.
That's right.
But we're in game finally. We can actually have a little look at Grover here as he's riding a tree is riding a horse with an axe.
That's right. And so you'll see him. There is the hook right there, so he can hook to any wall, almost any surface, and almost anything deployed.
What's the distance?
It's really far. It's about 110 feet, and so he can really, and you can almost hit that wall over there. So he's got some pretty serious distance on it. It's got a cooldown on it. Obviously, the person who's running the camera right now has no cooldowns on, but you can very easily kind of just spider around. There will be cards allowed him to use it twice in a row, in a short period of time, or have different options there.
Now, can he pull himself to an actual champion?
Yeah. So if he hits Grok right now, he'll pull himself to Grok. And so even if someone's flying through the air, and we've had times where if someone flies away, you grab onto them, you pull yourself up to them, and you can cripple them and knock them out of the air or something like that.
And so his damage, his in hands are probably strong. On his autos, he's just very, very strong because he's very hard to land because he's melee.
That's right. So he has some decent damage. I mean, he's not as bursty as some of the other characters. You'll see him kind of hitting hard there, but by the time that you get close enough, he's going to take a lot of beating along the way. So you can see he has a high health pool in the bottom left corner there.
Yep.
And obviously he started out with all 5 of his cards. And then he'll be able to use Briars and Blossoms to kind of maintain himself during the fight, and then the axe throw and the vine to get closer.
I can see the leaves just going around him. Now, is that the Blossom, the heal effect?
That's the Blossoms, yeah.
Okay. And he's got the damage effect as well, I guess.
Yeah, so Briars is now active, so you see he's kind of ticking damage when he's close to Grok there. That's the damage portion. You see right above the ultimate on the bottom center of the screen, you'll see that it switch from the sword over to the plus. That tells you what state he's in currently, whether he's healing or dealing damage.
And can you see this effect as an enemy too of these leaves going around you at all?
Yeah, so you'll see kind of like little thorns popping off of him, or you'll see little plus signs and leaves you can see on the screen right there. So it's very clear which one he's actually in. So with little thorns coming off, he's in Briars. When he switches over, you'll see kind of leaves and plus signs, he's in Blossoms.
So you can tell the difference between the two. That's important too as an enemy to know what stance he's in. Like, can I get in range to kill him here? Oh no, I'm low. Or is he healing? I need to get him out of healing form.
That's right. Spider Tree is in full action.
And there's the axe to the face as well.
That's right.
So you can see he looks very, very fun to play, honestly, right now. The gap close with that spider pull is crazy.
Yeah.
That pull is going to be amazing to close distances very, very quickly. And get yourself out of trouble too, which is one thing that people haven't probably thought about just yet. Just thought about damage. Getting out of bad situations and healing up.
It's a lot of fun on Outpost too when you have the tighter corridors and a lot more verticality up in the buildings to grab onto. You can really kind of go up and down and scale the buildings and get underneath things. And also once you get someone hooked on, you can really pull in close and keep them there.
And we can see the card system as well in the bottom right there. You can see they're just lit up with just rank 1 now at the moment.
That's right.
And then as you put points into F1, F2, F3, F4, this is the screen that you'll be able to see as you upgrade your card.
That's right. So you'll be able to put points in those. He just put a point there into Skewer. He'll make that stronger. That's a counter against healing, I believe. And so he'll be able to kind of prevent Grok from healing too much. It's for a short period of time. And he obviously just got his ultimate available as well up on screen. And so really, it's all about bringing the cards around. So there's the Whirlwind. You'll see him kind of doing area effect damage and bursting people down.
It doesn't look like it's a massive amount of damage, but on a big group of people,
a lot of
it can
people,
make a big impact.
It'll stack up. And really a lot of it too is more towards the lines of disruption, right? He's all about getting someone's face, and when you have Grover on, you don't want to really be near him for very long, and so you'll kind of run away, and he's really about scattering people, and the Whirlwind allows him to do that, because when you see Grover whirlwinding, you don't want to stand in it, so you see people scatter out, and he'll really disrupt the fight.
But it'll also help him, because he's got CC immunity on that ultimate too.
That's
it
right.
will help him in case people try and peel off of him.
That's
and
right.
try and get himself away. Like with the fades or the silences, he can just use his Whirlwind and laugh at them myself.
That's right, and you won't be able to knock him away or CC him for the duration, so he'll be able to kind of get close enough to really chop him down.
Okay, so it looks in like a very good situation for him to be in the latest patch. And he's going to be in this patch completely. We're not going to wait on him.
He will be in CB14.
Awesome.
That is correct.
I'm excited, especially because of these pulls.
You see he leveled up again there, so he has the opportunity to level up some of the cards there.
Hang on. You can swing with it? I didn't realize you could swing. That looked like he swung.
It carries momentum. So, I mean, it's not a complete swing, but if you hit at an angle, you will carry your momentum along the wall and keep going. And so you'll be able to kind of maintain that. Also, vertical momentum gets carried, so you'll go up onto a wall and land on top of the surface above. So you'll be able to use those effectively.
Perfect. I'm really excited to see this guy in-game and see exactly how he's going to play out against some of the other champions that we've got as well. Because against Buck, I think he might struggle.
We'll see.
I want to say him versus Buck could be a real big man fight.
Oh, yeah, especially if Buck's got the ultimate up and traps him inside.
Yeah, and his healing regen too. I mean,
that's right.
Unless
he picks up a card that does the anti-high attack speed,
or anti-healing.
Buck does the anti-healing with him. It's really more about how the build works together. And also, you know, since you seem to kind of specifying more the damage card and also his anti-healing card, he really wants to burst Grok down and counter some of that healing on.
That's true. There's the axe being thrown as well. Now the axe actually cripples, which is something we touched on a little bit, but it means like if there's a weightless pip flying through the air,
he'll fall.
Hit him and he'll fall.
That's right.
So he won't be able to get his regeneration potentially from his weightless.
That's right. So I mean, the spider tree is also quite adept at taking down Eevee. Eevee has a little bit of tough time kind of going one-on-one with him unless she has the range. And also, if she's up in Soar, which is her movement ability, and she gets axed in the air, she'll fall down to the ground. So he's really good at kind of keeping Eevee in check. And also, anywhere Eevee goes up onto the wall, he can grapple himself up there and get there as well.
So there's no cheeky Eevees hiding in corners, being unable to be approached where you can.
That's right.
As well. That's good.
He can be a very strong Eevee hunter if you build him that way.
That axe was painful. He really axed him a question.
He axed him pretty hard.
He axed him a question. And there you go, guys. That is the look at Grover and some of the new changes. What are you most excited about for this show?
I'm excited about a lot of things, and really just kind of looking forward to hearing feedback from the community and really kind of seeing where your thoughts are with the new system. And I think there's going to be, you know, a little bit of a learning curve as we shift over to this new system. So if you guys have any questions or really want to start some discussions on the forums or on Reddit or wherever else you choose to have those discussions, the devs all listen. We actually, everyone at the office reads it every single day.
I think everyone could say you listen because we've been changing this consistently, it seems, over in Paladins department because everybody's like moving all the way through in terms of like what we've seen during the game, different game modes being added and tested out, as well as different card systems too.
That's right. And there's a couple things that we really wanted to hold on to in the beginning, but you know, the community were very specific on what they were hoping for in the game, and so we've added a lot of features based on those kind of requests.
So make sure you give us your feedback on what you think about the new system. Wait till it comes out first of all, though. Don't be on naysayers already or be too excited just yet. Just find out once it goes live. Make sure you give the feedback, and people like Drybear will listen.
That's right. One thing I should mention as well, we kind of covered a lot of the 10,000-foot view of this patch. There will be a lot of balance changes, some new cards being added, some old cards being removed, some cards being reworked and adjusted, and also a lot of quality of life things for certain champions that really kind of added the game. So the patch is much larger than what we've discussed here today. We really want to just cover
the key
Grover and then also the really kind of the hierarchical look at how the card system has changed. Stuff like, you know, Sky's alt fire, you know, being improved, chain lightning being improved, dual fire being improved. Some of those alt fires getting better, and also, you know, adding some things to the ultimates, making sure, you know, like Grok is CC immune, channeling Tempest, those kind of things. Those are all in the patch, but we just wanted to make sure we cover the high level stuff.
Big important question. When's the patch?
The patch is going to be coming out this week.
Definitely this week?
This week.
You promise me?
I do.
Where's the patch notes? When do we get the full patch notes?
We'll be hoping to release those within the next 24 hours, so tomorrow at some time.
There you go, guys. I gave you all the information I can get out of him, unless he's got anything special. Who's the next champion?
The next champion is Grover.
The one after that?
It's the one after Grover.
Tried. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. This was the Paladin Patch Notes. I hope you join in and play the game and give us your feedback on it as well. Don't forget, you can find the patch notes probably within the next 24 hours, and the patch will be out later this week.